Well, hello everyone. Here to show you right here of talking about right here of talking about for special attention right here with the president's speech right here, and you can see this right here that this right here will be like a little newspaper design article right here, but then also special attention right here. One of the reasons why I started this right here is like for like a little subtitle, your headline right here, especially about your special and what does it usually mean? Whenever I say special, I'm like, well, really, that something really that mainly like it's like a highlight, and a lot of times it seems like that back whenever I was in school, it sure seemed that way to where especially made just for you or something like that, especially made to be able to the easier to understand. A lot of times it's like something, and I know like everybody else would say is to where that if we're talking about maybe a cookbook, or maybe if we're talking about maybe an easy, easier to understand, a symbol kit or something like that. But really, though, that almost every time we think about something, though, is like working hard on something and maybe trying to improve something a lot of times, and you're always thinking as toward okay, yeah, that whenever we do think about that in a lot of ways, and it's like yeah, well, really, that a lot of nice and friendliness a lot of times, but still, but on your hand, that whenever it comes to the ticket moving forward right here, so these images right here that where I was working with right here, talking about for Build Back Better, and then also you have right here is the Juneteenth right here, and so it's like yeah. So if we were talking about jobs though, and talking about that for special, can also mean that someone has something that comes from the natural born citizen right here. So this right here was supposed to be like an article right here to where that you would actually read about it and what the president had to say about certain things, and so it's like yeah. So I was writing this right here, and I kept thinking as to where okay yeah, talk about for feedback right here. So anybody who's maybe wondering to where okay yeah that whenever you do ask for somebody's opinion and feedback, a lot of times that it sure seems that way toward really that you're not really going by any requirements, right? So a lot of times it's like whenever you're going to be working an assignment, and let's just say if you're going to be maybe writing down notes, and maybe if you're going to be taking any classes that do have a lot of those requirements, right? So a lot of times it's like you would maybe tell the president that yeah that whenever you are going to be writing, and maybe whenever you're going to be go ahead and maybe writing and maybe doing any editing to a paper or something like that, maybe trying to work on modify a paper or something like that, doing any sorts of work though, doing any sorts of job, and you're probably thinking it's toward it. Yeah, well this right here on line 5 right here came from the group from the party. So it's like so let's just say that if all this right here was all divided into different groups of like paragraph 1 would include a few sentences of my own words, and right down here in the middle would include a few paragraphs of what maybe what the Republicans said, Republican Party, or anything like that. But it's like, yeah, when we do listen to the president's speech a lot of times, 102 is that talk about for Build Back Better right here. So I include this right here, talk about for ticket moving forward right here, and it's like, yeah, so it's like, the reason why I was working on this right here is mainly because of the fact that whenever you do think about that, is to talk about ticket moving forward, and I know a lot of times I'll even tell everybody here that, I'll go ahead and mention right here of talking about yeah, now it's here, right here. And so it's like, yeah, so whenever you do order anything in the mail, and let's just say that if you were to order a catalog or something like that, and at 102 is toward it, yeah, now it's here. So if you were to actually say that right there, and a lot of times it's like, yeah, so the first time that you've experienced that to where that if you actually ordered something online, right, in 102, that, okay, how long is this going to take? And so it's like, so I'm sure we've all been there to the point where if we're going to be working a job, then a lot of our, the managers or whoever, like, yeah, they're going to be asking, okay, how long is this going to be, how long is this going to take just to get it done right here? And so a lot of times, like, yeah, I'm like, would you maybe recommend, like, yeah, what do you think that you would want to put even on a resume? That, yeah, well, really, not everybody really wants to wait, when if they're going to be working on something for sure. If you're going to be working on something, maybe taking care of a bill or something like that, and you're always worried toward, okay, yeah, well, really, that, I want this done, I want this done in an hour, or I need this now, or something like that. So it sure seems that way that when we do speak about jobs, though, a lot of times, when we do speak about jobs, that, do you call those jobs to where that they really want you to work a real fast pace? And a lot of times, I'm like, I really don't know if everybody knows what I'm talking about, but still, that the jobs that, like, what you call, like, besides the fast food jobs, but I'm talking about jobs. I'm talking about jobs they want, like, they're going to be on higher demand. And let's just say that maybe if it's manufacturing jobs or other jobs to where they're going to say is toward, yeah, well, really, if they're going to want any copies made, or if they're wanting something to be signed, and maybe if they're wanting, maybe some extra, evidence, some like proof of evidence, just for verification purposes, a lot of times. Yeah, a lot of these jobs are going to say is toward, okay, yeah, I want this in a half an hour, in 30 minutes. I want this signed, and I want this signed and returned, within, maybe, yeah. Usually it's like between up to 3 to 5 business days, but like a lot of everybody else might say is toward, yeah, well, really, what's the most common thing that you would really see on your resume whenever it comes to taking care of a job a lot of times? And it's like, yeah, well, really, that whenever you're going to be thinking about, yeah, reading the news media a lot of times, and 102 is toward, yeah, really, what can you really get done within 8 weeks' time? And you 102, the, yeah, well, that's whenever you go ahead and set a goal and maybe set an agenda, right? But how many of us are really going to maybe think about, okay, the ticket moving forward right here? So a lot of us will maybe 102 that, really, your time can really tell, right? But if we've done the studies about the time, and at 102 that if you were to set a goal, and a lot of times that's usually what helps, right? Is to where you go ahead and set a goal to where that if you were to write something like a ticket moving forward right here, what does that mean whenever we say ticket moving forward? And I'll go and put right here, like, yeah, like anybody say, yeah, go ahead and highlight it in blue, and maybe part of it, you'll highlight that, and maybe in black color or something like that. But it sure seems that I'm like, yeah, I can go ahead and copy that right there, and then maybe paste part right there, and or something like that. But still, that yeah, ticket moving forward right here, and so really that when we do think about that, and you're always thinking as to, okay, what exactly does that mean right there? And if you want to go ahead and move that around, like if that's supposed to be like maybe a shadow or something like that, or any source of special like After Effect or something like that. So if you were to actually place the head, like these wordings right here, and at 102 that okay, yeah, ticket moving forward right here, that means right there is that yeah, it's tickets, right? And but really, though, that number one, that why do you think a company would be counting on you to do stuff like that? Especially like with me, though, a lot of times what I'm going to be thinking about a lot of times is to where that, yeah, it was my idea to arrange this design like this. It was my idea to do it like this right here. It was my idea to include a few stars right there on the top right corner right there. And so it's like, yeah, so it's like whenever you start working on something, let's just say that if it was not even in the instructions to begin with. So, like, let's just say if you're going to be working on something, and at 102 that yeah, not everybody knows how that works for sure. That somebody's going to maybe be saying this to where, can you please show me what you're talking about. Show me, show me what you're doing. And so a lot of times it's like, yeah, that whenever you're going to be working though in 102, that if you were to make a suggestion, and maybe if you were to be looking over the feedback about maybe the team and all that, but still it's like so if you were to say your ticket to moving forward right here, and then now it is here right here, and so if you were to actually say that in 102, that whenever you first start working a job, that it's possible that this person would say is toward it, okay, really, I want this task done within 5 business days right here. So it's like, yeah, so the first thing that's really going to come to your mind is toward it, yeah, go easy on the person, all right? Go easy on them, and I'll even write that right here, and like everybody else might say that, I'm like, yeah, go easy, and want to know just a little bit too that, okay, yeah, go easy, and so it's like, yeah, so it's like, so every time you do think about that, and you're 102, that whenever it comes to understanding about getting a task done, and let's just say that if one of those tasks is maybe going to be about is toward, okay, yeah, that the ground rules are supposed to be that you're supposed to follow the directions, and so if I were to, I'm like, yeah, if you were to stamp something like that, so it's like, yeah, you have this writing right here, and let's just say that if you were to be talking to somebody, and they say is toward it, yeah, well, really, so if you were to stamp that onto a newspaper document like that, say, yeah, go easy, special attention, okay, yeah, go easy on the fella, go easy on him, and just say, okay, this is all what you have to do right here. So it's like, yeah, so it's like, to me though, that do we all maybe think is toward whenever you're going to be working a job though, a lot of times that you maybe think is toward it, just to make it a lot less difficult, to where that all you really have to do now is just making sure that everything is all correct. So like, let's just say that yeah, go easy on the person, and yeah, just to verify that the information is correct. So it's like, so every time I do think about that in 102, that if you're going to be taking down notes for anything that you're going to be working on, and you're always thinking as toward, oh, really, that whenever you first start working on something, for sure, that you were taking down notes and maybe jotting down a few ideas, and about right here, and you're thinking as toward, okay, yeah, that you write on here, ticket moving forward, and you're thinking as toward, okay, what exactly, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, ticket moving forward toward it, putting this to the test. And so I can just put that right here too, that in case if anybody that didn't know, that really, that testing your knowledge is toward it, if that's really supposed to be about the fact about, okay, there's really no right or wrong answers, but just knowing about it, it's all about getting the Democrats and Republicans to agree on something, right? So it seems like to me, it's all about you're in agreement, right? And so if I were, I would place this right here and talk about for test, right? And so it's like, and everybody else might say that if you were to, place those texts right there in 102, that, okay, yeah, in agreement right here. So at the time, it seems like if that's really, really what it's all about, is toward it, that you're coming up to an agreement. And so every time, even if it is going shopping at the mall, or maybe if it's going to the movies, I'm sure we've all been in that situation toward it, it's really, is it really about an agreement? We're trying to get everybody to agree on, okay, what do we want to do here? Where do we want to go out to eat? Where do we want to go shopping? And But to me though, it's like every time you do think about something like just like this right here, you have this text right here that's stamped right here, and then you also have test right here. And so if you were to actually look at a document like that, and a 102 that this right here to me though it's like so if you're going to be in an actual meeting room and talking about stuff, and you're 102 that okay, that you really don't want to stamp the word agreement and then maybe test and maybe go easy or something like that in big letters just like that, and maybe have like the wordings in the background like that. So like whenever I look at this right here, to me though, that looks just a little bit like kind of like maybe just a little bit like everybody else might say is toward it. What's another way of how you want to call it? Maybe a news flyer or something like that, or something that maybe for sure that you would want to use Distiller for, just because of the fact that this right here was the original published document right here before it was read. So whenever it was read, and maybe when it was signed by an agreement or something like that. So how many designers and publishers would find this tool really relevant whenever it comes to understanding about building a project to where you can actually read something, but then you're going to go ahead and place a logo like or maybe a text writing like right here on the front, and let's just say that that text right there is supposed to represent is toward it was stamped, meaning toward it was read. It was read by the confirmed by the editor, but then also by the publisher or something like that. So it sure seems that way that every time we do think about that in 102, that you probably got the idea just because of the fact that you learned a lot, by the way. So it's like so every time you do think about it, and it's like well, this was not the requirement from the beginning. From the beginning that you didn't really know so much, and you didn't really know a whole lot there at the beginning until you were able to study a little bit more of it. And so that's why it sure seems that way, that every time we do think about goals and agendas and achievements, right, and you're thinking is toward so it's like whenever you first start working on something, for sure that the first thing that's going to come to your mind is toward okay, this may take a while. This may take a while, so it's not going to get done right now, and so it'll take a couple of hours or a couple of days or something like that. And so if you were to say something like that, and like everybody else might say, is to where if you would actually say that, even on a resume, for sure that people might say that, not all hiring managers really want to hear that. Like if you were to say something like that, if you were to say something on a resume, such as to where how fast are you with getting a project done? And let's just say that if you are applying for a job, working a job assessment, and at 102 that how long is this going to take you just to do that? And so like let's just say that the answer that you give at the beginning, and like everybody else would say, is toward okay, this may take a while, and so this right here, I'm like so it's like so that's something to think about right here, is that your ticket moving forward right here. But then if you were to actually, I can go ahead and copy this right here and move it up here, and note that 8 weeks, and so it sure seems that way that every time we do think about that, and people might say is toward okay, 8 weeks, and what is the difference between 8 weeks and now it is here? So at the time, it's like, yeah, upon the original agreement right here, to where you thought that it was going to take you 8 weeks just to be able to get all the data together, but then now it is here. Like, and okay, yeah, well, that it seems like that was not too far off. That it wasn't too long ago that you were told that it was going to take 8 weeks, just to be able to get everything all clarified. But still, it's like so it sure seems that way. That in a lot of ways, it's like really that whenever you do think about an important task and maybe an important job, though, that what is what are the really are the words to be looking for whenever you do think about that a lot of times. All we necessarily thinking about is to where that maybe besides multitasking, but can we really yeah, something looking forward and yeah, you're looking forward to the good opportunities, for the opportunities, and so it's like, yeah, so it's like anything that keeps you motivated, right? So it's like, yeah, for the opportunity, and so to me though, I usually look at that too, and the opportunity right here, and so every time I do think about that, and I always want to know too that yeah, that with the opportunity, and you're like you're thinking is toward okay, yeah, well with the opportunity, yeah, I'm trying to place it here, but yeah, so the opportunity, and so if you were to actually, like you had a text right there, and the opportunity moving forward right here. So it's like, yeah, this right here, opportunity is known as to where something that you say that just because that there's something that you are looking forward to seeing. You're looking forward to seeing the progress, right? And so it's like, so a lot of times it's like, I guess the question is as to where that how would you be able to word this in like to where that everybody else can really understand it. So like, let's just say that I don't know if I would recommend everybody to do this right here to where you go ahead and any newspaper, and then you go ahead and place all kinds of text right here, but just the way how it's placed right here is to where that, yeah, whenever you do arrange something like this right here, and maybe to where that everybody is able to understand it, especially when everybody, most of everybody's able to understand it, right? So that's why it sure seems that way. That maybe if this is required right here, to where that you would have text right here going sideways, and then maybe text right here in the middle, and then one right down here, to where that, yeah. So I really don't know how that they're going to be placing these documents, but let's just say that if that will be like maybe a tool that maybe you can think about whenever it comes to virtual learning and everything, is toward if you're trying to complete a task, if you're trying to get a job going, then a lot of times that you would do something like that to where that you would put text right here in writing to where that there would be like what you call text in writing right here, and just something that represents like maybe for a logo or something like that, saying that upon agreement 8 weeks or something like that, and so really, this right here, so it's already starting to look a little bit like a document right here. That if anything, that yeah, so it's like maybe like it talks about transparency, especially whenever it comes to transparency, right? So it's like I really think I look at that more maybe a little bit like talk about for a distiller, right? Whenever you look at an actual document, and you actually see this text right here in writing, but it's like to me though, that's like you're kind of like an invisible layer right here of writing to where that this right here means is to where that this document right here, it was already reviewed, and it's been tested, and it's been agreed. So it's like, yeah, so this right here would be like a cover right here, and so if you actually were to look at a document like this and actually look at the text on the inside, and a 102 that okay, this is how this is how we work our documents, right here. is to where we go ahead and place our documents right here to where that we have these texts right here. So it's like, yeah, so it's like, so if you're going to be looking at a document like this and a 102 that, yeah, so maybe that's another reason maybe why, maybe some offices would maybe recommend that too, to where if you're going to be looking at a document and a 102 that you go ahead and place these big word and text right here just to show that it's specially made for you, so that way you can easily read it and understand. And in the test, just to see that it was tested, you tested and make sure that the reader edition was all working all right, and in the agreement to where about how many clients agreed to this decision right here. So how many of us would really find that real convenient? And everybody might even say that, well, really that really that unless for any reason at all that it makes a little bit more sense now than what it did at the very beginning or so, but it sure seems that way that every time you do think about that, and you're always thinking as toward yeah, well, really, not everybody really knows the whole story, so it's like that, yeah, if you were working on something, and let's just say if you want to speak up about your opinion about something, but still. But when we talk about 8 weeks right here, when we talk about now it is here. And so every time you do speak about that, and your 1 or 2 is toward it, that yeah, whenever you first start working a job, working a task, that you didn't say that you'll have this done within 3 to 5 business days or something like that. Or if anything, yeah, 8 weeks. Yeah, it's going to take me 8 weeks just to be able to get all this information together right here. And so that is why it sure seems that way that, every time we do speak about, talk about for President's Day and then maybe the President's speech, though, and you're thinking as toward, okay, yeah, that, whenever we talk about special and then talk about go easy and, so it's like, yeah, the amount of support and but still, it's like, but every time we do think about that and 102 that now it is here, and you're thinking as toward, okay, yeah, that, so whenever you first start working a job, that somebody's going to be asking is toward, okay, yeah, well, most of the time, those jobs they're going to say is toward it, they're needing something to be done within the next few minutes to maybe even the next couple of hours or so or something like that, right? So a lot of times it seems like a lot of these jobs, by the way, and at the time you want to know too that most of the jobs, a lot of jobs, by the way, it seems like a lot of them, a lot of those tasks and a lot of those career opportunities, right? A lot of those jobs, most of them pay you higher wages the faster you get the job done. And so it sure seems that way that, every time you do think about that in 102, that, that progress has been made a lot faster just because that, after maybe 2 weeks of working on something, but still, it's like, you want to know too as to where about how much progress was made whenever you were working on something. And, like I say, yeah, well, the original discussion actually talked about that, that whenever you first start working on something, but still, it's like, so it sure seems that way that, yeah, it's about how many clients and how many members of the team would agree on something, and then talk about for go easy right here. And so like, and I don't know, I mean, I haven't really tested it, but like everybody else would say is toward if you would actually you view this and maybe in like a PDF file format, and at 102 that if you actually showed this to anybody and maybe put in a few texts right here, like right in the background right here, and just saying this toward, okay, any comments and suggestions that you would like to put right here in these columns right here, and at 102 that okay, yeah, that we got 8 weeks right here, and then now it is here. So like, let's just say that if this right here was supposed to be like the news media right here, but everybody else might say that that whenever you were first working on something, the first thing that you were working on were your notes as to where the okay ticket moving forward right here. So the first thing that you start out with is as to where that you were assuming that this is what was going to be going on during that meeting. You were thinking that this is what they were going to be talking about. You were thinking that this is maybe going to possibly what was going to be going on and what was going to be happening. And so it sure seems that way, that every time you do think about that, and that you're always thinking as toward it, is it about the fact about how many people like that idea? And it's like, so it's like, yeah, so if you were to actually say that, and, with Valentine's Day coming up too, I know it. I like it, and so if you would actually say that, and want to know too that while you were working on something, and like everybody else would say that according to your resume, though, according to your resume, you don't really talk too much about about your experience as to where that. Your experience, basically, like with my experience, most of my experience, by the way, is all about, most of the time, it's about, what I really encourage and I strongly suggest. And that is why it sure seems that way, that, like everybody else might say, that, yeah, I like it. I like it like that. And so if you were to say something like that, and so it's like, yeah, so every time you do think about that, like, yeah, I'm trying to place it in there so that way we can all see it right there, but still, it's like every time you do think about that, and you're always want to know too that, yeah, that, whenever you're working on some of your work, though, that you also, you also make a suggestion about something what's really highly recommended, and a lot of times you're always want to know too really who's all listening, but still, but whenever you first start working on something, whenever you do set a goal or achievement, right, but still I use ticket moving forward right here, by the way, mainly because of the fact that whenever you think about a ticket, moving forward is toward that pretty much means, I use that phrase, by the way, just because that, talk about for opportunities is toward that, you're able to, you want to look at that to where you can, you're able to print out your own tickets. You're able to print out a ticket to where that, you're able to, I'm like, yeah, but still, at the same time, that when we do speak about tickets a lot of times, ticket moving forward, this may take a while, and so a lot of times it's like every time you do think about that in 102 that, yeah, that, tickets, by the way, like even if it's admission passes or maybe super savers or something like that, that most of the time that those are tickets are usually are sold, or yeah, they're sold online, and like maybe if it's maybe for a registration passes or something like that, you can't really just, you can't just produce them yourself and all that, but still, it's like, but I use this right here, just to kind of keep in mind, and so a lot of times it's like, yeah, like everybody else might say, is to where yeah, keep something in mind, keep in mind, and yeah, keep so if you were to actually say that, and 102 that, okay, yeah, what exactly is on your mind whenever you do hear, the senator or the speaker or madam speaker or somebody, what exactly does come to your mind whenever you do you'll hear their speeches a lot of times. And the way I think about it too, though, that it's like, every time you do think about that, and I want to know that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that keep in mind, and keep that in mind, and yeah, I could put it down here so we can see it, but keep in mind that, so yeah, so whenever you're going to be working on something for sure, that, yeah, keep something in mind. And so it's like, to me though, that's you would really say that if you're trying to get feedback, if you're trying to get somebody's opinion about something, and maybe if you're getting feedback, from other person, like, yeah, from other citizens and others. So it's like a lot of times, every time you do think about that, and it's like, really, that they keep in mind, talk about, to where, yeah, for registered voters, and, but still. But on the other hand, that every time I do think about this right here, and 102, the ticket moving forward right here, and so this right here is a lot of information, by the way, right here. But let's just say that this right here was just one document right here, based on the work in progress from the 8 weeks of progress, right? So, like, let's just say that if you were to actually be looking at this, on an InDesign document, and like InDesign, but then also if you were to be looking at a PDF file format, or maybe using Distiller, and at 102, okay, yeah, boy, it makes a little bit more sense now, just because that you're able to you were able to explain it a little bit more, but still. But at the same time, it sure seems that way, that yeah, all this writing right here, like whenever you first started. But still, I mainly want to talk about it here to where now it is here, because whenever you first start working a job, whenever you first start working a task, though, that I don't know how many of us really think about that, is to where that whenever you do first start working on something, and not all of us are going to look forward to 4 weeks of after working a project, and you have those moments as to where a lot of things that you don't really look forward to, a lot of things that you had to learn, a lot of things that maybe a few things that you did not have to do, and that you did not have to learn, and basically the basic challenges, right? And so that is why it seems like that every time we do speak about any news articles and headlines, though, and 102, that yeah, you would go ahead and write any text writing in sideways right here. And like, let's just say that if this right here was placed like that, mainly because of the fact that okay, yeah, this right here, that's just that's another way of how you want to show, is to where that it was, the document was read, and we tested to make sure everything was all right and upon agreement. So at this right here, yeah, whenever I look at this right here, to me though, that looks a lot like if you're going to be looking at an electronic version, or maybe if you did export into like Distiller or some program like that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, really, if you're trying to throw all these text and writing and everything all in just one document right there, not well, it's going to be really hard to read, and not everybody's really going to be able to understand what all that means. And so that is why it sure seems that way, that if we were all yeah, trying to, I'm like, yeah, all on the same page and all, but I just wanted to tell him, I'm like, yeah, talk about for special also means that somebody something comes to the natural born citizen. So it's like, so one thing I did want to mention right here, you're talking about ticket moving forward, but then now it is here. And so it sure seems that way, that whenever you first start working a job, and let's just say that if you were to tell somebody that yeah, I'll have it ready next Friday or something like that. So it's like, yeah, so it's like if you're going to be working a job, though, and let's just say that, if you say something like that, by the way, yeah, somebody, your manager, your boss may say something like that, to where that, come on, that's not what you said, that's not what you said earlier. You said you would have this ready. You said you would have this ready by tomorrow, and so it's like, yeah, so it's like everybody else might say, that whenever you first start working a job, for sure, you want to go ahead and put this to the test. And 102, that okay, yeah, that whenever you first start working a job, that you're thinking is toward a lot of managers, by the way, you say that, yeah, well, if you're not going to have it to me by tomorrow, for sure, then there's a problem. But still, it's like every time you do think about tasks, a lot of jobs and tasks, though, that quite a few of them, quite a few managers are going to say is that there's a lot going on for sure. Quite a few of those managers are going to say is that, yeah, well, if I don't have it by tomorrow, then that's going to interfere with your salary or something like that. So that there's a lot of jobs, by the way, that like everybody else may even say that, yeah, well, based on my experience, whenever it comes to jobs, though, it's like you set these agendas, and let's just say that if you were to tell your boss, though, if you were to show them this document right here, this document, if it was all placed like a document that was created like this right here, and you can tell your manager that yeah, they can actually see the work in progress right here, and they can see the text in writing. And you're like, oh, okay, I understand. Okay, you're good. You're good to go. So it's like, yeah. So every time we do speak about jobs, by the way, it sure seems that way. That almost all the time, that you're always thinking is toward it. Do you really want to show them a document like this just to show your work in progress? And even though that, yeah, a lot of jobs during the real busy times, that you would go ahead and show them a document like this, and a 102, just for whatever reason, you're like, yeah, well, really, we really don't need to see unless if you want to share it. But it's like, yeah. So every time you do think about that, and you're always thinking as to where, okay, yeah, that you would go ahead and show them a document like this, mainly because so that way they can look at the work that you had to do and maybe a few changes and maybe updates that you had to make. So, but like with here though, if we're talking about for politics though, and you're thinking as to where if the work that you were doing was maybe related to maybe a social studies assignment or something like that, but like let's just say this was related to a job, and you're always thinking as to where, okay, yeah, that the manager would ask you to go ahead and send a document just proving about what you put together right here, what you accomplished, and then you go ahead and put on here in word and heading to where, okay, yeah, next Friday or tomorrow, and so it sure seems that way that really that the way we think about that though too, by the way, it's like a lot of times you're always thinking as to where that's always something really to think about whenever it comes to working with documents, with electronic documents, as to where that whenever you place text like that, and you're thinking as to where is that really supposed to get anybody's attention whenever you do that? You put the smaller text on top of bigger text, and whenever you change it around like that, and you're thinking as toward, okay, yeah, that not everybody can really see what you're doing, so that's why it sure seems that way. That yeah, if especially if you're working with Acrobat Reader, by the way, everybody. If you were to be working with Acrobat Reader, then maybe everybody would be able to read your name and maybe your email address and stuff, and hover over the text and writing, but still. So every time you do think about that in 102, that yeah, ticket to moving forward right here. So if you were hired to do a job, and let's just say that they're going to say is toward it, yeah, well, if I ask you to do a job, though, I ask to have this assignment by tomorrow, if that's a problem. I'm like, but still. So every time you do think about most jobs, though, and it's like 102 that they're going to be testing about how fast you are into accomplishing an agenda, and so that's why it seems like yeah, good opportunity. So almost every time you think about that, and a 102 is toward it, yeah, so it's like one way of how to get those tasks to move a lot faster is just toward it. Are you looking forward to looking at the opportunity? Yeah, something to look forward to, and so that's usually what helps. And That usually is what helps whenever it comes to whenever it comes to taking care of a job or any other source of responsibility, right? Is that if you're trying to get somebody to look forward to seeing something or looking forward to the good opportunities, right? But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.